So that's boxing at its finest right there. You heard it. They said it. They got everything on the line.
Gervonta is an animal for real. Jake is too domestic. Here's the thing, Mike Tyson's an animal too. He's just 60. But he messed around and he got a prime tank.
Gervonta Davis is pushing himself harder than ever in training camp for his fight with Jake Paul. His sessions are brutal, filled with non-stop sparring, explosive pad work, and intense conditioning. Surrounded by top coaches, Tank's focus and aggression show he's preparing to prove real boxing power beats celebrity hype. Showbiz The Adult argues that Jake Paul may have made the biggest mistake of his career by calling out Gervonta Davis, a fighter who is still in his prime and more dangerous than ever. He emphasizes that Tank has already proven his ability to dismantle taller and stronger opponents like Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios, showcasing not only his power, but his adaptability. Showbiz explains that Jake might believe he's following the same pattern that worked when he fought older names such as Nate Diaz or when he mentioned Mike Tyson. But this situation is entirely different. Tank isn't a past his prime legend chasing paydays. He's an elite, active world champion with speed, precision, and knockout intent. According to Showbiz, Jake has stepped into a challenge that could expose the vast gap between an entertainer learning the sport and a true boxing master.
Emotionally, see if he's rattled. See, when it's all said and done, the whole talking shit goes out the window. Jake's scared. And let me tell you this too. I looked at that, I'm sizing them up, I'm looking at Tank and Jake, and I'm looking at them. Tank can reach him too. He reached Ryan Garcia. He reached Mario Barrios. I was like, he ain't gonna be able to reach him. So Tank's gonna reach him. He knows he's gonna reach him. Listen, I want to say this too. Funny as hell. Before I say all this, Alicia Baumgartner, shout out to you, girl. I couldn't believe out of all the women to be the first one to do 3 minutes, 12 rounds is Alicia Baumgartner. And I really know if I have a great endurance, great stamina, and she's doing this shit. Shout out to Alicia Baumgartner. Because, what's her name, Layla? I don't really know her like that. But she looks like she ain't rattled by Alicia. So that's the perfect dance partner for that. Trying to drag Alicia Baumgartner into lake water, see what's going on with that. Shout out to Alicia Baumgartner. But let's get back to Tank. First of all, Tank knows what he's doing. Tank Davis, he said, you were just making all these implications that's going to be scripted. When he said, you're paying me, and then he was like, yo, you're going to have to give me extra. And then he said that this is scripted.
At the end of the day, I gave this little guy an opportunity. He should be thanking me. I'm paying him. I'm his boss. He reports to me, and I'm going to fucking son him on November 14th. So fuck you, little man.
You pay me? You pay me?
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Facts?
Correct.
Yes? Correct?
Correct. I'm your daddy.
40
Some boxing experts believe Gervonta Davis may have taken on a challenge too big this time. They caution that Jake Paul's size and natural strength could make a real difference once both step into the ring. While Tank's speed, timing, and knockout power dominate smaller divisions, moving up to fight someone heavier could test his limits. Analysts emphasize that weight classes exist to ensure fair matchups, and crossing those lines can be hazardous. Even with Tank's elite skills and killer instinct, facing Jake Paul, a naturally bigger and physically stronger opponent, introduces a new level of risk that shouldn't be underestimated.
All of a sudden, we want to know, who will win in this fight? Jake Paul or Tank Davis? It's a legit question. And I actually want to really hear your thoughts on who you think is going to win. Because I know what Vegas is saying, but I want to know what you think.
Personally, I think Tank's too little, bro.
Yo,
I think Tank's too little.
I'm so glad you have a brain on your fucking show.
I think Tank's too little.
I said, bro.
I think Tank's too little. That's what I'm saying.
That weight class is for a reason.
That weight class is for a reason.
135 pounds. Jake Paul is 6 feet, 205 pounds.
That's what I'm saying. He's too
6'1", 205. Everybody's like, yeah, bro, but Tank going. It only takes one good punch. Yes, it takes one good punch when you're about the same size. There's a 60, 70 pound difference in weight for these people. I don't think nobody puts the physics in mind. Jake Paul gets punched in the face by dudes 200 pounds with all their might on a weekly basis. A 135 pound puncher, bro. If y'all remember the Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, Conor walks around like 180 in McGregor. He's like 5'9", 180. Mayweather's like 5'7", 145. that 30 pound difference, bro. If you remember that fight, Mayweather was putting mittens on Conor. Guess what happened to Conor? He didn't hit the ground once. He lasted all 12 rounds getting hit with flurries. I'm talking about Mayweather was having his time. He's being cocky with it, hitting him with all kind of combos. And we're watching the last 3 rounds of that shit like, yo, knock him out. And you know what? He could not knock him out because Conor gets punched by people that are 170, 180 pounds on a regular. And just that 20, 30 pound difference, it was like impossible for him to do anything. That's exactly what I feel like is going to happen with Jake and Tank.
Everyone who watched Gervonta Davis at the press conference noticed how calm, composed, and self-assured he appeared. Unlike Jake Paul, who thrives on provocation and spectacle, Tank stayed focused and unbothered, showing the discipline of a fighter who understands exactly what's at stake. His confidence wasn't loud. It was quiet and controlled, reflecting years of experience at the top level. For Gervonta, this fight isn't about fame or social media buzz. It's about proving that skill, patience, and ring intelligence still define true boxing greatness. Every word he spoke and every glance he gave carried the weight of purpose. While Jake tried to entertain, Tank demonstrated professionalism and determination. His poise reminded everyone that champions don't need chaos to shine. They rely on preparation, precision, and belief. The press conference made one thing clear. Tank Davis is ready to fight, not perform.
In the press conference, and you can tell, you can just look at him and tell, like, no, this dude he's gonna get this money for sure, because there's so much money out there to be had. But Jake Paul better be not playing around, man. Not get cute, not play any games, don't hit him in the back of the head, don't rabbit punch him, don't do any of that stuff, man, because Mike Tyson, first of all, Mike Tyson, a lot of people think Mike Tyson was pulling punches on Jake Paul, and a lot of people think that Anderson Silva was pulling punches on him too. You're not going to have a little Gervonta out there pulling punches on you, man, if you're out there playing games. So, I don't like the fight at all. However, as far as it being an entertaining situation, I almost guarantee you that fight itself is going to be entertaining. That it's going to be something that you look at and you're going to say, man, everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to want to know what happens in it. But at the same time, it's kind of like what people think, when you see a car crash, like you're driving down the road and all of a sudden the traffic gets heavy and you're like, man, I'm going to be in traffic for a long time. And then you drive forward a little bit and then you see, oh man, this is some accident on the other side of the road and everybody just slowing down to watch. That's the type of entertainment that you can expect from this fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. There's going to be a lot of people watching it, but I got to say, man, you really can't blame the guy on what he's doing. And there's a lot of criticism flying on Gervonta Davis. It's not Gervonta Davis's fault that boxing took this turn. This turn of these exhibition fights and people not caring about the belts and all of that stuff came with Floyd Mayweather Jr., man.
I want this, or I like this when I heard it. And no, I didn't like it, to be honest, for the optics and everything else I just said. But you do have one guy who, he's smaller, but he's a top fighter, he can punch. And he's fighting a guy who's not a top 12 fighter, he's bigger. What if he hits him on the chin? It'll wind up selling. And that's what it'll wind up selling. The what if? What if Tank makes him do a cha-cha? He hits him on the chin and Jake Paul, we're going to find out if he can dance. Whoa. Do the cha-cha. That's what's going to sell it. And you can't argue that what if. You can't. I know I get to places that other people won't go and everything else, but just dismiss stuff because it's easier to do that. It's safer to do that. You don't have the bows and arrows coming at you from people that argue with you because you did that. But I don't care. I've had bows and arrows my whole life. But that's true. That what if this guy who is a real good puncher, who is one of the best fighters in the world right now, what if he hits him? What if he makes a miss and he counters him? Or he jumps up in the air? Right! And he hits him. Sid Harris was a great fighter. No, not the 1700s, but years ago. And Customato told me he loves it. He said, Teddy, he used to jump up in the air and hit you with 3 jabs. I said, whoa, man, Sid Harris. All right. Anyway, look, I can't finish without saying that it did invoke some memories and thoughts that we've been here before in a different way, where Jake Paul's brother fought Mayweather. That's not forget, and I'm not saying I like that either.
Analyst Luke Thomas shared a thoughtful perspective on Gervonta Davis as he prepares for his upcoming fight against Jake Paul. While he acknowledged Tank's incredible knockout power and sharp finishing instincts, Thomas noticed something different in his demeanor this time. Davis appeared more composed, quieter, and reflective, an attitude that suggested not nervousness, but a mature awareness of the magnitude of this event. According to Thomas, this new side of Tank reflects a fighter who understands that this bout goes beyond money or fame. It's about preserving legacy, representing real boxing, and defending the sport against the growing influence of celebrity fighters. Thomas explained that such mental shifts often happen when athletes sense they're part of something bigger than a single fight. The challenge isn't just physical, it's psychological, testing focus, patience, and emotional control under pressure. For Davis, that calm seriousness could be his greatest strength or his toughest obstacle. If he channels it correctly, it may sharpen his precision and timing. If not, the weight of expectations could slow his rhythm. Either way, Thomas believes this mental evolution reveals a deeper layer to Gervonta Davis, a man determined to prove that skill and discipline can still triumph over fame and size.
So in that sense, it's a little bit different. It's not different in the sense of a boxer in his prime or relative prime straying off the path, but this one is not. It's not like someone else, in a similar weight. It's like completely the opposite. So that makes it, I think, look and feel weird. And then on top of it, obviously, Gervonta's got other business to handle. He looked to me, Gervonta, absolutely, completely disinterested. Even at the beginning of this year, and even at the pre-fight Lamont Roach stuff, Tank was talking about how much time he has left in boxing, which he was sort of isn't much. The Lamont Roach fight, it blew up in his face, but Lamont Roach was cherry picked. I think Tank thought, I'll just fight another guy from, the Mid-Atlantic area who's, remember, Roach came up from 30 to 35 to fight him, and Tank thought he was just going to cruise, and then it blew up in his face, and you're left with that. So, you're making a point about, he's got this obligation. That's true, but he was already fucking winning. He was already taking opponents that, again, I think Roach showed everyone that was a mistake, but put yourself in Tank's mind. Tank was taking a fight against someone he was clearly, in his mind anyway, better than, and was just going to cruise. So he was already in that state. Then you marry that with statements like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm worried about going to therapy because it'll take away my competitive edge. And, kind of teetering on the edge a little bit about whether or not this is a thing he wants to do. Then he, there's a draw in that fight.